I am so truly honored to introduce our speaker, Dr. Leigh-Erin Keneally. She's been my personal doctor for, I think it must be 20 years at least, anyway. And I've always admired her. She's been such a pioneer in the work that she does, in that she's an integrative doctor, and she looks at all the different holistic remedies as well. And she's just very wise and brilliant. And she's the author of 2 books, which The Cancer Revolution and Be Perfectly Healthy. And she runs the Cancer Center for Healing and also the Center for New Medicine, which is where I get to go see her. I just love her to pieces. I admire her so much, and we are in for a great treat.
Thank you, Diana. Good morning, everyone. It's beautiful that we're eager to come so early in the morning. So I appreciate the interest and the support. And Diana, thank you, and Ted, wherever he is, her significant loved one. So I've known them for a long time. I've met them as patients, but as friends. And so I appreciate everyone's interest today because, of course, this is pertinent to everyone because now cancer is a pandemic. So you can read about who I am and what I do, but why do I do what I do? I was born in the 50s, and I'm number 3 of 6 children. And there was girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, as my mother would always say. And my mother began to bleed when she was pregnant with me. She went to the doctor, and at that time, there was a wonder drug called DES. And DES was given to women to prevent miscarriage. And for you that don't know what DES is a very potent synthetic estrogen. So fast forward 16 years later, I grew up in Houston, Texas, and my parents received a letter that DES caused cancer, hormone problems, anatomical problems, and many other issues in male and female offspring, and that I needed to go to a cancer institution. Well, in Houston, Texas, it's MD Anderson. So at 16, I started my journey of the discovery and uncovering my health. So I did not pick this journey picked me. And of course, along the way, I've had all kinds of interesting occurrences that have taught me what I want you to know today. And I've never really lived a disorderly life because my mother was an extreme proponent of nursing us for a year and eating well and all that great, wonderful stuff. So I grew up eating very well, but there were 6 kids, so you never could go out to eat because they'd kick you out because of their banter. So my mother she was an amazing cook, but she cooked everything, not out of a can, everything natural, and everything was made by scratch. So, I mean, sauerkraut was big. Well, we ate sauerkraut. We ate liver pate. We had things that are kind of shishi now. So anyway, I'm not going to talk about all the different things that have happened. Rita did a little story with me in the paper. But I know what I know because not only because I went to medical school and training, but I lived in a living laboratory between myself and my over 40,000 patients. And fortunately, I have been open to the universe for the invincible possibilities that can heal patients. And that's what we have to do. It's just we have to look at all the possibilities to help heal the patient because we have the divine force to heal ourselves. When you cut yourself, you divinely heal. Of course, sometimes we have to help it along the way with divine direction of all kinds of little things, but your body has this amazing capacity to heal. I want you to know what I know. I want you to spread this mission because without health, there is nothing. There is nothing. And I say that because you can't be a good sister, you can't be a good mother, you can't be a good CEO, you can't be a good friend, you can't practice good health if you don't have health. So health is the foundation for everything else. So with that said, we're going to focus today on cancer. And so So I created my office as a healing environment as opposed to an austere, severe, cold environment. And so because I want the patients, so I have very specific music that's designed for healing, always playing. I created where there's not like closed doors everywhere and there's obstructionist to healing. So I want everyone to feel comfortable that they can say and do anything and they can just sit around and read their book or whatever they want to do. So we have come to a critical point in healthcare because now we have the second year where how long you have to live has decreased. So with the second year, so we are in the era of information that we know how to save ourselves. And so, but we've got to, we have to get this information out in the right way because unfortunately the information out there, it's all misdirected. So the top two killers today are heart disease and cancer, and they're about neck and neck. Now, some studies will tell you that actually medications are the #1 cause of death. But actually, Johns Hopkins did a study a year ago and showed that the third leading cause of death in this country is the medications and accidents and all the different things that occur when you go to the doctor or hospital. So, but if you look at other studies, you'll see that medications, et cetera, are the top leading cause of death. So we're going to focus on heart disease, and we can obviously, cancer, but it's just horrific what I unfortunately or fortunately get to see every day. So we talk about health, and people think about health. Well, okay, I'm not sick, and so well, how do you know if you're not sick? You don't know if you have attained health, because health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. Well, today, isolation is destroying lots of people. And that's why I'm trying to, like this kind of thing, community, that is what is going to save us. Cancer is the #1 cause of death, 1 to 85. And the conventional, over 1,600 people die every day, and no one hears about it. No one hears about it. How is that possible? And so, it's becoming, like I said, it's a pandemic. That means whatever's going on here is happening in China, in Southeast Asia, in India, and I know because they all want to duplicate what we are doing here there, because all the other countries follow and try to emulate the United States. So it's a very, very, very huge problem. Now, if you were to be diagnosed with cancer, the typical treatments are surgery, chemo, and radiation. But we know, though, that the survival is about 2.3% if you just do surgery, chemo, and radiation. So we have to integrate. First of all, prevention is priceless, and we're going to talk about that. But we must integrate these other modalities, because Nixon declared war on cancer in 1970, and the survival rates are exactly the same in 1970 as they are in 2018. It is not about how we look or appear. It's always what lies beneath. And that's why we did the show Dr. Detective, because we've got to uncover and discover what lies beneath the top of the iceberg. So cancer is the outrageous, uncontrolled growth of abnormal cells. It starts with one abnormal cell and then proliferates. The most common forms of cancer, skin cancer, is growing despite sunscreen. Then we have lung, prostate, breast, colon, bladder, and I just read a report that now pancreatic cancer is now the 4th leading cause of death. So the cases are only increasing, unfortunately. So what causes cancer? Believe it or not, the World Health Organization says that the cause of cancer is eating and lifestyle in 90% of cases. I have never met a patient that their doctor told them they need to change the way they eat and or think and or live. Never. And we're living in 2018. Would you let your child go, oh, just you can eat in whatever you want? No. So a lot of people don't realize that a lot of things contribute to cancer. So when you come to my clinic, I can't just go, oh, you have this lump or bump, and then we're just going to do surgery, and we're going to do this, and everything's going to be hunky-dory fine. Well, no, from one cancer cell to tumor formation takes 10 years to see on a scan or an ultrasound or some kind of imaging. 10 years. So that means we have 10 years of opportunity to prevent cancer ever occurring, and that's what people don't know. We have the ability today, and anyone in this room and anywhere on the planet, to figure out if people have cancer way before it starts. Prevention is priceless, not only for cancer, but all diseases. So all these bugs, for example, if you have diagnosis of hepatitis C, you have higher risk of cancer. If you have herpes, you have higher risk of cancer. If you have any kind of bug. Believe it or not, I was in Europe for my stepdaughter's wedding, and I saw everybody smoke, and I'm like, wow, let me look up what's the leading cause of death. And of course, it was lung cancer, but I was reading down, and parasites were the 7th leading cause of cancer, and I'm like, wow. And how many doctors check patients for parasites? None. So here are all the other things. I'm going to go through this because we have so much to talk about. But you can see the food is not organic. The food is irradiated. It's got more chemicals in it. You've got to make sure that you're eating pure food. Luckily, we live in California with the land of plenty and farmers market. We have so much availability of organic food. It's ridiculous. Mercury from fillings and the environment. Dental factors, believe it or not, now they're saying the latest things for heart disease and cancer, 80% cause from your mouth. And most dentists don't know how to analyze a mouth to determine if you have infections or hidden infections. Obviously, too much sunlight. EMF. EMF is probably one of the single greatest toxins that we have. What is EMF? EMF is electromagnetic fields. Electromagnetic fields are the invisible energy web that's around us from cell phones and computers and cell towers and everything. And we didn't have this, for the people who are here older, we didn't have this 30 years ago. So we are all energetic beings, okay? We know that every cell in our body is able to receive and transmit energy. And now we know that not only is the cell protons, neutrons, and electrons, they're energetic cells. They all have energy. So now we have this toxic energy that is disturbing our normal cellular functionality. So it's a big problem, and I can go on forever about this. But anyway, radiation, pesticides, heavy metals, xenoestrogens is another big problem. Everybody's heard about plastic. Plastic causes cancer, heart disease, and diabetes. So we have to start being mindful and aware of how we're living and how we handle and live in this environment. So obviously, these are different availabilities in the environment of all different things. Fluoride in the water. Fluoride is in the chemicals of halogens, and halogens are very toxic to the body. So obviously, we put on all different potions and lotions, but actually everything today comes in a very natural, organic form at a very good price. But if you think about you cleaning your house, think about the chemicals. I don't have cleaners in my house. I make my own or do very, very natural things to clean your house. And like I said, all of that is very, very readily available. These are the cell towers. We know that in the insert of every cell phone, that cell phones are carcinogenic, which means cancer causing. Now, there's obviously other factors. This is all in my book, so I'm not going to go into, and I have a lot of lectures and YouTubes online that you can take part in, but I want to get through all of this. So the way you eat is huge, and most people do not know the science of eating, so it's a very important thing to really, and the importance of not eating. And so fasting has been around for thousands of years, and not eating can fix a lot of things. And obviously, everyone has probably one or more nutritional deficiencies. All of this now, in today's world, there's no guessing in a lot of medicine, believe it or not. We can test for so many things very, very quickly that I was not able to do 10 years ago. So your thyroid's the battery to your body, hormone imbalances, block detoxification just from having surgery. If you have a surgery, you've destroyed the energy meridians that flow in your body. Oxygenation, the terrain, vaccines, free radicals. So just in vaccines alone, because I know there's so much information about that, it's the additives they put in the vaccine that are what causes cancer. Now, sugar feeds cancer. Okay, that's probably the single greatest thing that everyone can be mindful of is their ingestion of sugar. We know that if you get a PET scan, it tells me the sugar uptake value. That's what a PET scan does. It tells me the sugar uptake value. So we know cancer. So the best thing you can do is eliminate sugar from your daily diet. So this is a picture of a cell, and you'll see on the right-hand side, the mitochondria. The mitochondria are the energy powerhouses of your cell that provide your energy. And we know that this is it's been talked about for many, many years, but this is what propels the cell and protects the cell. And so we've got to protect these wonderful organelles in our body so that we don't, so our cell is able to survive and thrive. Genetics in cancer. So there was a study of over 44,000 twins. Genetics does not predispose you to cancer. So if your father had prostate cancer, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get prostate cancer. So it's more eating and lifestyle. I talked about your dental. Now they have doctors, dentists who practice both conventional dentistry with the new modern medicine of what's going on in dental health. So we know that 93% of breast cancers are related to a root canal, which is a chronic infection. So you must have your teeth evaluated for prevention of the top two killers, heart disease and cancer. So you want to read about it. There's lots of information on the internet, but your teeth are your mouth is the gateway to disease. So how do I know if I have cancer? So if you were to come and see me very quickly, in probably a couple weeks, probably in 2 weeks, you would know, well, 2 weeks just because waiting for tests to come back. So obviously, a very good history and physical is very, very important for every patient. Looking at people's eyes and their mouth and looking at their body and feeling their lymph glands and all that. But there's certain blood tests that you can do these are routine blood tests. These are not esoteric tests. So one of the biggest is CRP. CRP is the non-specific marker for inflammation. Inflammation is the precursor to all diseases. So most doctors hopefully are doing that, but that's something I do on every man, woman, and child that comes in. Now, one of the other big factors is the hemoglobin A1C. Hemoglobin A1C is routinely checked if you're diabetic. So because we know if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic that you predispose to cancer quite a bit more, we want to make sure that we optimize your hemoglobin A1C to the lowest possible rate because it's also a marker of aging. So if you have a high hemoglobin A1C, you're aging very, very fast. So then there's a test that's done in Florida called the Cancer Profile. It's a blood test that basically is fortune telling you if you have if you have cancer, there's certain markers in there, and you get that test very quickly. Thermography is an image of your body, especially for women's breasts, but you can do the whole body. Thermography is no radiation, no touching. It's a picture of your body that shows blocked areas or abnormal vascularity. Then I do something called the bioimmune survey, which I'll talk about, circulating tumor cells, Oncotrace. And obviously the typical ones, I do those in my office too, MRIs and ultrasounds, PET scans, of course. I do all of that. So this is a lab in Greece that has been around for about 15 years. They're in 14 countries. And I learned about it at a conference years ago, and we've been using it. It's run by a Dr. Papizarou. He was trained in Germany, and there's a blood test called the circulating tumor cells. So circulating tumor cells are now the future of oncology. If you just want to Google circulating tumor cells, YouTube's on it and everything. But that is the future of oncology, because circulating tumor cells, if you have something growing inside of you that's a millimeter, that's a pencil line, 1 milliliter or 2, you are already releasing circulating tumor cells around the body. So I can just order that blood test, send it off, get the answer. If you have circulating tumor cells, we know you have cancer. Now, it may not be detectable in the body, okay? Because, as remember I said, one cancer cell to tumor takes 10 years. But we can do all the testing to figure out where it is and what's going on and what organ it's related to. So this lab is in 14 countries. Over 800 doctors in the United States now use this. I will tell you, you'll say, well, why don't everyone know about this? So let me tell you a story. Dr. Semmelweis was an Hungarian doctor in the 1800s, and he was delivering babies. And he said, wow, the infection rate is so high. And what could we do to prevent this high infection rate with the pregnant mothers and the babies? He says, you know what? We can institute hand washing. Not gloves, hand washing. So he went to his medical board and at the hospital, and he says, okay, we need to change the rate of infections. Let's all the doctors start washing our hands. This is a true story. Just go look it up on the internet. So they thought he was crazy. This is a true story. They all thought, including his wife, who was a doctor at the hospital, also thought he was crazy and committed him. No. How long do you think that took time? 100 years. We don't have 100 years to change the healthcare dilemma that we have today. There's another story. James Lind was on the ships and said, you know what? We have scurvy. All these soldiers have scurvy. He says, let's just give them a little lemon and lime every day. Again, they all thought he was crazy. That took 50 years to change. We got to change things today. So the bioimmune survey was, the science of it was discovered by a guy named Reinhold Voll, V-O-L-L. And he was a physicist, medical doctor, that determined the acupuncture points on your hands and all over your body. He has unbelievable, this was in 1960. And so I learned about it 20 years ago. Personally, for myself, I was told about it by a gentleman who has diagnosed with osteosarcoma, which is really a death sentence. He was 22 years of age, and he was diagnosed with a bone and muscle cancer, which there is no treatment other than surgery or amputation. So they told him, we need to amputate your leg. Well, when the 22-year-old went to the hospital to get his leg amputated, he asked the doctor, do you know my name? And the doctor didn't know, because unfortunately doctors a lot of times don't pay attention to what they're supposed to be doing. So he says, I'm out of here. If you don't know my name, I'm out of here. So he spent the next 11 years, not months, 11 years figuring out how to save his leg and cure himself of cancer. Fast forward, I'm in an anti-aging conference in Vegas, which was it's an annual one that's still going on, and I went up to meet him because someone had told me about him. And he tells me his whole life story. And then, of course, I tell him my whole life story. He says, oh, no, then you need to know what I know. I go, okay, I'm in. So this gentleman came down. He lived in Sarasota, Florida, taught me everything. He was one of my most significant mentors of what I'm doing today. So I've been doing this for 20 years, and it is unbelievable. The accuracy is about probably 90%. I see probably more, and I'm going to be doing a study. We're forming an organization to raise money to do all the studies that I want to do. And so, but it is highly, very inexpensive way of telling if someone has cancer. Not only that, it will tell me all the energetic imbalances in the body that I need to fix. Energy precedes action. If you hit a golf ball all the way, it's the energy that gets it to the hole. So energy always precedes action. That's why you always want to know the bioenergetic field of someone. Here's another thing for women out there. Instead of mammography, and sometimes I do mammography on patients, but a lot of my patients prefer to have non-toxic approaches to their care. So thermography is a way of doing that. So breasts are not normally vascular. You see that on the right, they're vascular. This one is not vascular. And so you should have, your breast should look like that on the left-hand side. So this is, you can see the arrow with the cancerous tumor in the breast, very clearly shown by thermography, and you can see that the mammograms were negative, but the cancer was already there on thermography, and MRI showed it 9 months later. So anyway, I put a tapestry together because I don't do one test. I have the way I look. First of all, I'm not interested in just part of you. I'm interested in, we're whole body healthcare. We're not like go after things. We this whole thing is an orchestra symphony miracle that has to all work together. So we were talking about the mind-body connection, and this is probably the most powerful thing that all of us need to know. And it took me a long time, and I will tell you, this is the most significant thing that I have learned in 31 years of practicing medicine, 42,000 patients later, that we become what we think about most of the time. You get what you expect. And we all come into this world with unresolved emotional conflicts. We do, okay? Because now they've determined that our emotional DNA now goes back 9 generations. So you inherit the emotional DNA from 9 generations. So it's not that you're a good or bad person, because we don't like to, let's face it, we don't like to be vulnerable. We don't like to say, oh, you're not going to believe what happened to me. And people think, you're kind of crazy. Well, no, we're not crazy. We're real people that have real problems, that have real issues, and that we need each other to help. There's nothing like a girlfriend to unload all of the things that happen to you, right? And then she or he can help you and navigate it, right? That's why community is critical for us all together. We have to get rid of the barriers and help one another be the best we can be. So this has been going on a long time, what we think is what we become. But I will tell you about a really very, very interesting guy that I met a long time ago. Dr. Hammer died this year. Very interesting. He was an oncologist from Germany, took care of cancer patients conventionally all his life, and he was diagnosed with testicular cancer, which is very unusual at the age of 50. So he's like, whoa, why do I have cancer? So he started asking his patients, well, tell me about you. What happened to you? And he went around to all his patients, and he found out that they all suffered a traumatic life event. Well, interestingly enough, Dr. Hammer's son was tragically killed 2 years before. And so he started doing CT scans of his patients, and he found that on the CT scans that they had basically an aberration in their CT scans, and he compared and did this. Of course, what did they do? Persecute him too. So anyway, unfortunately, that's what happens when you come up with a novel idea and you start fixing people. This is another gentleman. He was a dentist. He got stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and he wrote a book called let's see, what's the name of the book? I read it a long time ago, but oh goodness, what is the name of the book? But anyway, so he had cured himself of stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and I read his book a long time ago because I've used all these people to come up with what I do today. Because there's nothing like learning from someone who's been there, done that, right? Okay, you can read it in a book, but living it daily, every single day, you're enlightened beyond any of your understanding. So these are the things that William Kelly cancers talk about, and I use in all my talks in my book too. So failing eyesight and attack of serious indigestion. I was talking to someone here today, and they were talking about their husband who had pancreatic cancer, and they had digestion problems for a very long time. So, and then finally, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Chronic fatigue, brain fog, hair hernias, peculiar odor, muscle pains, and depression. So all these things are early warning signs that all doctors should be using. So the rule of thumb is you have to, when you get diagnosed with cancer, people automatically think it's a death sentence. It really isn't if you've got the right team. Yeah, One Answer to Cancer. Yes, thank you. One Answer to Cancer, William Kelly. But it's really good. You can read it online, actually. You don't even have to order the book. The book is completely online. You can read it off your computer, unfortunately, with more EMFs. But anyway, so you've got to change. You know, it's a time you examine your life like you've never examined. And I know that from seeing patients all day long. They have, their whole life changes in a nanosecond. So, but you do have to change your life. But if you weren't taught from early on how to live your life in the correct lifestyle, because you know, I tell people, I didn't make the rules. I've learned the rules of Mother Nature, and I apply them to my patients. It's not like I knew all this. Of course, fortunately, I grew up with a mother who was very, very healthy, but at the same time, I've learned all of this on my own because I love it, and I'm interested in keeping myself alive. And so it's selfish first, but also I want to share my knowledge with anyone who will listen. But unfortunately, the desire for a healthy lifestyle is not desired. And so people think they can break all the rules and get different results. So you have to get the bad stuff out and put the good stuff in. So that Ted was talking about earlier, and he was like, you know what, we need to be aware of what we're putting in our body, surrounding our body, and the people who we're around. So the biggest thing, the number one thing you see is stress, all the stress, okay, all different stress. He was mentioning it earlier, stress, and it's not just what you may be going through, it's what you may have gone through. Stress, we know, changes the architecture of the cell and weakens the mitochondria. You think it doesn't, it does. So we've got to get rid of the food. We've got to be aware of what we're eating. We have to know what we're eating. We can't just go and rely that the grocery store is going to give you good things, or here they're going to give you good things, or anywhere. You've got to know and now with farmers markets, and now in awareness, and now they have a new device that's coming out that will actually measure everything in the content of the food. You're going to know what you're eating. It's going to show everything. It's a little device that checks the energy of different fruits and vegetables, etc. We have to get alkaline. We can't be acidic anymore. Alkaline stress makes you acidic. Bad food and toxins all make you acidic. We are a biochemical machine that is ruled by our pH. You have to get all the nutrients. A deficiency in one nutrient can create a disease. Sleep, you have to eat, sleep, you have to move. So, like I said, you've got to eat foods from nature. You've got to be around nature. Don't work out in a gym. We live in the land of beauty, nature. It's amazing. We got to walk the beach. We got to walk with the trees and, you know, be around nature. That's what's really good. Here's the obvious things you know not to do. But again, the pain of change, people unfortunately have to get a diagnosis to change. Now, this is the single greatest thing you can do besides getting your mental countenance in the right place and being in an attitude of gratitude is purification. So purification, we have junk in our body, believe it or not, because if you live in junk, you have junk. It's just the way it is. So we have 100 trillion cells. We must clean our body. So these are the ways we purify our body, all these things, your intestines, your blood, your skin, kidney. All of that is designed to clean you. But when you have too much garbage cans in your kitchen, you can't get in there, right? So we have to. The liver is the seat of your immune system. About 40% of my patients now have fatty liver. If you have fatty liver, you can't purify. You can't, your immune system doesn't work. So it's a very big problem. Why do we have fatty liver? All the chemicals and toxins. These are all the different things that I do or recommend for purification. And so you can see Ted was mentioning about celery juice that he drinks with his wife every other day. All the juicing is fabulous. There was a famous doctor, Dr. Gerson, who published a book on his cases for cancer, and juicing is a huge part of it. I personally drink 10 ounces of juice, green juice, every single morning. So, and I do all this stuff, more or less, and I rotate. I don't do it all at the same time. Now, if you have cancer, a lot of my patients are very busy because they say for every year of life, it's a month of purification. Yes, So it's not an overnight sensation. So, like purified water, do you know how many medicines are in your tap water? Over 100. So you don't have to be given a prescription for medication because they're in your water. Chemo's in the water, birth control pills, antidepressants, etc. And now a study just came out that if you are taking any kind of psychomeds, antidepressants, you're dramatically increased risk of cancer. So all medications interfere with something that's supposed to be taking place in your body. So be leery of medications that you take because they all damage the mitochondria, every single one of them. So when you go see a doctor, if it's really simple, they're not uncovering and discovering how you need to be optimized, okay? And so, and like I said today, there's not a lot of guessing. There's impeccable testing that can be done. A lot of it's very efficient. A lot of it is covered. Like if you're a Medicare patient, all your blood is covered. You get nutritional testing that's covered. A lot of things are covered typically in a visit, and the things that aren't covered are very inexpensively, like the bioimmune survey. It's a couple $100. I mean, things that will tell you things you've never known before are amazing because we are. In the world, we rank 50th in the world in healthcare. We spend twice as much as anyone else and get very bad results. Third world countries are doing better than us, so that should tell you. So these are all the things that a doctor should be addressing, whatever medical problem you have, is you've got to address the whole body. You can't, and this takes time. This is not done in a visit, and I can't download my brain in a visit or two. And so I tell people that health is a process, not an event. It's a day in, day out. If I told you to go learn Japanese, and I saw you in a month, you wouldn't know that much Japanese, right? So it takes a while to master and acquire a language, and that's just a language. When you're talking about the sophisticated miracle that you're living with each and every day, it takes time and listening to podcasts and reading books. So again, our mission is, as you see, it's multifaceted, multidisciplinary, and I work with an amazing team of people who help me execute this whole process. And whether it's the nutritionist, whether it's the mind person, whether it's the purification person, the health coach, or anything. So we address all that. So these are the different things that I do in my body. Like in my clinic, as Kitty said, we treat everything from cold to cancer or just human optimization. My big interest now that I'm over 60 is that I'm into, youthening. I don't use the word aging anymore. I don't like that word. So youthening. So that's kind of my big thing. So that's going to be my next book. And there's so many great things that are on the horizon. And they say by 2050 that we'll be able to supposedly live forever. But I don't know about that. I don't know if that's. So really for all of you, we have to get real with who we are, what we need to do. And because you're going to be of utmost benefit to yourself and to someone else when you just analyze your life. on all levels. And unfortunately, don't wait until you have a diagnosis, okay? Because that's the time where fear and intrepidation sets in, and then you get clouded and blinded by what you really need to see. Take personal inventory of your life. Like if I find that I'm just overdoing everything, I literally have to say, I have to stop. I have to stop. Don't schedule anything. I need to take care of myself. Because as I told you guys before, I had lots of things that have happened to me along the way that were unbelievably traumatic and lots of things. So I'm not speaking because I haven't had anything. I'm speaking from outrageous, enlightening experience from a health and emotional standpoint too. So I've been, like for example, I've been attacked 3 times. So I listen to the news and I can remember in detail every single time I was attacked. And they were all 3 different times, 3 different geographical, but I can tell you to the minute everything I was wearing and everything. So anyway, so there's no better time than to do it now, right? As Nike says, just do it, but it's just do it now. So I will open it up to any kind of questions and concerns or anything else. Yes, Diana.
I think I would love it if you'd address Alzheimer's or mental function as we age.
That's a great thing because Alzheimer's now, it's over a person a minute entering Alzheimer's, and Alzheimer's starts before it's diagnosed. And now 40-year-olds they're saying now they're even seeing it as young as 40-year-old people. So the thing is that we don't, again, as a doctor, we don't address these specific things. Now, I will tell you, I find today that patients are telling me, Dr. Kenneally, I'm forgetting this, I'm forgetting that, little things. And so I do a test called CNS, Central Nervous System test, that assesses a person's memory to see. The most important question I ask them is, what do your kids say? What does your significant other say? What do your friends say? If your friends and everyone say, oh, I told you that, why isn't it you remember? Or, so someone else can see it better. You can't see it yourself. So you have to listen to another person who observes and not take that as criticism, but critique. And so because that person loves you, you want to say, oh, you don't want to go, oh, that's not wrong with me. You need to say, oh, I need to take a look at that. So today we can completely, again, prevent these diseases by examining the patient and fixing the abnormal blood tests, the hormones, for example, fasting, exercise. There was a gentleman from UCLA, Dr. Brederson. You can look him up. And now, I will tell you, I've been doing what he's doing for a long time. So, but Dr. Brederson did a study at UCLA. Unfortunately, it was only 11 patients. For some reason, it got great notoriety, but these patients turned around. But you can really, I had a patient from Palm Springs, Diana, in your neck of the woods. They were my patients a long time ago, and they moved to Palm Springs. And they found a doctor out there. But the husband, who was 73, was diagnosed with PET imaging, a PET scan that looked at his brain, and he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And so they, of course, the wife is in exhaustive research, everything, a very, very smart wife. And they came in, and within 3 months, 90% turned around. So, but they were very dedicated and committed to everything. And it wasn't with drugs, because the drugs don't work. Namenda and all do not work. And so, but again, there's no pill for every ill that works and fixes the body, you guys. It doesn't happen. I don't see it. Now, if you came in with cellulitis, if you came in today with cellulitis on your leg, I'd go, no, we're taking antibiotics and we're going to get rid of this. And in the United States, ER medicine, emergency room medicine is phenomenal most of the time. For the treatment of chronic illnesses, we fail miserably, because we're thinking that a pill is going to fix everything. A pill is putting a finger in the dam. when we've got to fix this entire mind and body. We have to. So with Alzheimer's specifically, you've got to do a complete workup. You've got to do a complete nutritional workup. You must exercise. You must fast. You must you must apply some of the targeted nutrients, like I was telling him today about doing lithium orotate. Lithium orotate's been around for a long time. It rebuilds brain cells. The science is there. There's lots of different smart drugs that we can use to enhance the memory. If you use Namenda at all, I've never seen a patient get better from those drugs. So it's all about rebuilding the ground up, because by the time you're 60 or 70, you've lived a certain way all your life. Now you have to like turn around all these things. And again, we may have, one of our weaknesses may be Alzheimer's or cancer or heart disease or whatever. You know, that might be our little weakness that we have. Everybody's got something. And so we've got to optimize every single thing in the body. The other thing that works amazing is NAD. NAD is like the new nutrient on the block. And I do it IV and orally in my clinic. And what NAD does is it reverts every cell in your body back to normal. And I get this aging, very sophisticated aging research. And now they're doing all these mouse studies on NAD. But it's not new. It's used in Europe. I mean, if you look on YouTube, you'll find tons of YouTubes in Europe where they've used NAD. Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me. Our habits here are whoever has a microphone goes. And Larry, just letting y'all know, because you're all new, and Larry had to leave. So now I'm going to ask a question, then somebody will be next.
Okay.
Listening to all of the elements, and then help me get an idea of how somebody possibly does this and has work or raises a family, or because everything, what's normal in our culture is the enemy, evidently, just taking sugar. Or so it looks like this is full-time work.
Well,
is that not true?
No, because I work 60 to 70 hours a week, and I get sauna in, and I get green juice in, and I get exercise in. I get a lot of things in. And now, if you are diagnosed with cancer, what you're trying to do is stop the runaway train and turn things around. So you've got to spend your time. I put people on disability so that they can do this. Because, or some people, just, if they don't work, they dedicate their time, because it's not only doing it, it's learning it. So if you have to learn the changes. And then once you get everything controlled and, you've turned everything around, then it's not as crazy. So coffee enemas, for example, they've been around for 100 years. They were discovered in World War I because the doctors loved coffee. So they said there were no drugs 100 years ago for pain. So these soldiers were hurt in pain. So the nurses said, the doctors love coffee. Let's just try it as an enema. Well, lo and behold, they found it helped phenomenally for pain. So it's been used and now it's been demonstrated what it really scientifically does. So, but coffee enemas, people wake up early and do it, and it takes about 20 minutes, and it's done. So it's all about, like, you're doing one thing right now. Eliminating sugar is a decision. It's not a chore, it's a decision. And I will tell you, I like sugar. I'm human just like everybody else. But at the same time, I know intellectually, mindfully, it's not going to help me. Now, will I have a piece of dark chocolate at 3 p.m.? Yes. I buy really good dark chocolate, and I have a piece, but a piece is this big. I don't eat the whole bar. So you can incorporate. So I use my infrared sauna time as meditation time, quiet time, relaxation time. So like last night, I came home, I did Epsom salt bath with essential oils. So you can, and like I said, I work 12 hours straight every day, literally. And so, because this is my job, it's my hobby, it's everything. So you can incorporate, but little changes now, like maybe no one's ill right now acutely. So these one little thing, just one big thing you can do is get your head in an attitude of gratitude. That changes a lot of things. Like Lynette was saying, she did visualization. I tell patients to do that all the time. Visualize their cancer disappearing day by day. So start with one change, and a week later say, what's the next thing I can do? What's the next thing? And then you will accomplish it. So it doesn't have to be an overwhelming task. Yes. Yes.
Then we'll pass it.
Okay.
Question I had regarding your therapies and stuff. Do you, in your facility, do you do sound therapy? I know sound therapy is coming to the forefront on a very effective process for people like Alzheimer's, and also for emotional release therapy, which is otherwise known a lot in energy medicine. How do you incorporate that, if you do have that in your facility, how do you incorporate that into the overall therapy of your patients?
Right. Well, that's a very good question. If you just Google sound therapy for cancer, they have sound therapy for many diseases. So there's multiple ways of looking at, and I'm not sure exactly. So sound is sound. A sound could be this, okay? A sound could be music. A sound could be, tapping this. A sound could be bowls, okay? Sound can be drums. Sound could be all kind of things. So in my clinic, I have like I said, we choose the music that we have. We only choose healing music. If you go on YouTube, you'll see sound therapy for cancers and all kind of detox purification, for example, all kind of things. So we use things that are going to be positive to the human body. The other thing that we do is we do sound therapy. Sound therapy, like she said, is new, but there's sound here and then there's sound here. So we are using a machine that was, the Discover is from London, and because sound reverses the polarity of a cancer cell. So in this case, I'm talking about a machine. Now, I have all my patients listen to different things because meditation is not a practice that we learn here in the United States. I was studied with Deepak Chopra years ago, and I went to a meditation course, and after I did meditation with him, I was with him all day, and I was like, okay, now, none of my patients are gonna learn meditation, so I gotta figure something out. So they have all kinds of meditative things. One of the most famous ones is whole tones. Whole tones is sound, and you listen to the sound, and it has profound impact on the body. Now, I give my patients lots of choices so they can go look it up and see what resonates with them. So we use all kinds of sound in our clinic for healing. Yes. So that's good that you brought that up.
Okay, thank you so much. This is absolutely wonderful. I want to go to you. And I was going to ask a question. You do take Medicare, because I think most people in this room are Medicare eligible.
Right.
Okay, great. And can you be a patient if you don't have a cancer diagnosis?
Right.
Okay, great. Great.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. Let's give a big thank you to Dr. Connolly.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Your card.
Okay.